What's going on, everyone, and welcome to Movie Emporium's Flashback Reviews, where I take movies from the past, break them down, and tell you what I think about them. If you like what you see, of course, hit the subscribe button, join Movie Emporium, hit that notification bell at the top to know what's coming next. If you like this video, awesome, hit that like button, as well as commenting below on any video that you watch, including this one. So, Snowpiercer, the movie, not the TV series, is a movie that I've been avoiding for some weird reason. I have no idea why that is. I don't know if it's something, for the simple fact that Bong Joon-ho, outside of like Memories of a Murder, hasn't really done it for me as a director. The guy's really talented, don't get me wrong, but I was not a big fan of Parasite. Please don't hate me for it, but Parasite just really didn't do it for me. It just didn't really hit me on any level. And it was one of those movies that I kind of wanted to see, but didn't really have the drive to see. So after the first season of Snowpiercer, the TV series, which has Daveed Diggs and Jennifer Connelly in it, this movie was something that became like on my list to watch. The problem was I got a lot of screeners, we had a lot of film festivals, so it kept getting put off. Now we're here close to season 2, which whenever you watch this, it might be the end of season 2 already. I just said, screw it. I'm going to watch this. I'm going to post this the day before season 2 starts out. And this movie is really fascinating because it takes the concept of Snowpiercer, which of course I understand came 7 years before the TV series, and has to condense the entire idea of Snowpiercer, which in essence, if you think about it, it's doing a singular story that the TV series has to expand upon. So, in essence, I get that whole situation. But from my point of view, it has to take the story of Snowpiercer and the Revolution and condense it into a 2-hour, 9-minute movie. And so I went into it. I'm worried about the character arcs. I'm worried about the character structure. I'm worried about the idea of how can this movie make me feel as good as the TV series does, because it's kind of a shame that the people don't watch the TV series, because outside of some of the like really stupid tropes that the TV series has, I think it's fascinating. I love Daveed Diggs in it. I love Jennifer Connelly. I love Sean Bean. Sean Bean plays Wilford in the TV series, and it's a series that hit me right, which it's fine if you don't like the TV series. But so this movie's on Netflix. It's directed by Bong Joon-ho. It's written by Bong Joon-ho and Kelly Masterson, and it's a movie that has a big cast in it. It has Chris Evans, John Hurt, Ed Harris, Tilda Swinton. It has Jamie Bell. Octavia Spencer is in this. Ewen Bremner. The cast is insane. Kang-ho from Parasite and most of Bong Joon-ho's movies. And it has a very, like I said, the premise is amazing. It's based off a French comic. Bong Joon-ho is very much in the social, economic disparity situation where he basically about rich eats the poor type of situation. He likes to talk about that in his movie about class struggle and so on and so forth. And when I watched this movie, the one thing I realized is I waited 7 years too long to watch this movie. If I had been reviewing movies in 2013, this movie would have been my top 10, probably my top 5, because this movie is fantastic. Is it perfect? No, because some of the character dynamics and the character motivations and kind of the character development is a little struggle-ish. There are characters like Octavia Spencer and, a couple other characters, Ewan Bremner's character and so on and so forth, that don't really have a lot of plot development. The only thing Octavia Spencer's character is known for in this movie is looking for her kid Timmy, who gets taken away during the kind of purge of the kids. But the movie is just, it takes the idea of this class struggle, this class disparity, and just completely envelops how good of a director Bong Joon-ho truly is when it comes to these ideas and representations. We have the tail section, which, is the Daveed Diggs character in the TV series. That's his whole group with Stephen Ogg. And in this movie, it's Octavia Spencer, it's John Hurt, who plays like the main shaman type character. It's Chris Evans' Curtis character, which is the main character of the movie. It's Jamie Bell's Edgar character. And Ewan Bremner, so on and so forth. And it's a very much more dynamic use of characters than even the TV series can do at some points. The idea that in the first, I think about 15 to 20 minutes of this movie, we're seeing the true disparity of how poor the tail section is, how mistreated they are by the Tilda Swinton character, who is basically a mixture of the character that Donald Sutherland plays in, of course, Hunger Games, and who the character of Ruth is in the TV series. So she's a very diabolical, evil human being that basically keeps the tail section in line. And there's an incident which happens in the TV series where they take the Ewan Bremner character, they attach this pipe to his hand, like this small pipe, and they stick his hand outside of Snowpiercer. Now, if you know what Snowpiercer is about, it's about the fact of climate change change, and the simple fact that we've basically effed up the world, and therefore it's snow and ice, the world has frozen over, and therefore it makes it inhospitable to live out in the the wild. So they constantly have to be on this train that constantly has to be moving, or they will all die. So they stick Ewen Bremner's arm outside, and it basically freezes over, and they chop it off, and he has no arm through the rest of the movie. And it shows like the disparity and the kind of forceful nature that these guards and the Tilda Swinton and Wilford have put these Taily people in. Now they've been on this train instead of 7 years, like the TV series. They've been on the train for 17, almost 18 years. Which in the situation, most of these people that are living on this train do not remember the outside world. Even Chris Evans is trying to forget the early days of when they got on the train, and Eggers never lived life off the train. He's very, very young. And so to get this movie's ball rolling, basically the Gilliam character, who's played by John Hurt, has tasked Chris Evans to start a revolution, and therefore he is basically watching the doors, how they open. He's looking for this guy who's played by Kang-ho, who's the kind of electrician guy, and his daughter. He learns that they have a daughter who is a kind of a psychic of some sorts. And they basically go on a train-by-train quest to get to Wilford to basically take down this train and have a much better life for the people in the tail section. So with that said, this movie becomes a action-oriented, very kind of interesting, kind of close-quarter combat type of a movie with a lot of interesting elements about classism and class struggle and so on and so forth. So if you get my gist on what I'm saying. But where this movie truly excels is the idea of these individuals and the struggle that they have to do. The fact that they have basically sticks and sword, like small knives. They have to fight against the army, the military that's on this train. The military has guns. They have night vision goggles. They have a structure to them, and we see as they go from train to train to train just how difficult it is for these individuals. We see people that we recognize, famous actors end up getting killed, like Jamie Bell's character, in the very cool. Basically, this sequence where they get into this car and they enter it as they enter their 18th year in rotation around the planet. And it's a really cool sequence because it shows you how underhanded basically the military, the guards, really kind of think of the Taily section. And they go in a all-out war combat where the Taily section takes down a bunch of the guards take down a bunch of the tail section. But the guards have a upper hand because after they go through the year rotation, there is, because the tail section has never seen the outside because it's all enclosed, there is a mountain or basically a mountain or a tunnel that Snowpiercer goes through after their year rotation. And we see a really cool Bong Joon-ho action sequence where all the military guards put on their night vision goggles, and through darkness we see the deaths of a bunch of tail section people. But the tail section people have fire, and fire really helps them out because they take sticks with fire and they basically take down a lot of the tail guards. And in the process, this is where, like I said, where Jamie Bell dies, because Curtis, who's the Chris Evans character, has to make a choice. One of the main bad guys in this movie basically captures the Jamie Bell character, Edgar. And in the process, if the Tilda Swinton gets a knife through her leg, and Chris Evans has to make a decision. Does he take hostage the Tilda Swinton character, or does he save his friend Edgar? And in the process, the thing that Curtis has to make the decision to do is the right decision. He has to go after the Tilda Swinton character to have some kind of leverage. And in the process, Jamie Bell's Edgar character gets killed halfway through the movie, which is really sad, but it's similar to another movie, 1917. Where it's very similar in that nature of people dying sooner than you expect. And, he feels for him and stuff like that, because Edgar's been Chris Evans' character's, Curtis's character, second in command. He's been the guy that's always been there for him. Curtis has raised him like a son, so on and so forth. So you really feel the anger that goes through Curtis's heart when that happens. But in essence, Tilda Swinton character's captured, and it leads into another cool action sequence, which I'll get into in a second. But if we go back a little bit, there's a sequence where they learn that they eat protein bars, these little black gelatinous whatever thing they are. It helps them survive and so on and so forth. And this is where we learn what those protein bars are. They're basically roaches or crickets, some of that nature that are being grinded up into these protein bars. And you realize that very similarly to the low quality of food that third world countries eat, or what, if we're very, very poor, what we eat is not necessarily good quality food. Now, the thing is, when it comes to survival, crickets and roaches and whatever you can find in the wilderness will be survivable, will be the ability for you to live because they are protein. But the simple fact that as you walk through these cars, you realize that they have like full lengths of meat, they have full fruits, they have fish, and they're being fed roaches. And there's a reason why that these taily sections revolted, because they have disgusting food that they're eating. So, and it's really fun to see Tilda Swinton's character, who's been captured, kind of have to eat some of the protein mixture, whatever it is, because she's like, ugh, this is because she's very like prim and proper, and I love Tilda Swinton's character in the movie. This character in this movie because she's very evil and so on and so forth. So, but like I said, this movie, like the cars in Snowpiercer, is split up into sections. We get to a point where we go to a classroom where we figure that's where the Octavia Spencer's Tommy or Timmy character, her son, is being held, but she isn't. But this is when we come across Alison Pill, who plays the teacher. And they're basically brainwashing these kids into Wilford's thought of believing, and so on and so forth. It's really creepy. There's a song that Alison Pill and the kids sing. The way the kids talk about the tail section is really sad and depressing. It's a really fascinating scene, but the thing about the scene that happens is it's a trick. It's a aha moment where Alison Pill's character, basically they're giving out eggs to everyone, and one of the eggs that's given to Curtis has a note inside because he's getting notes throughout the entire movie, and it says blood, and therefore a basically violent shootout sequence where a lot of people that were part of this revolution are murdered and killed and like maimed. Ewen Bremner gets a shot through the head, which is really depressing because his character already lost an arm. Now he's getting shot through the head and stuff like that. And it's a really rough scene. It's like I had my mouth agape because it was like, oh my god, these people are getting slaughtered. We have like the artist gets killed. The Gilliam character, John Hurt, gets captured, and he's sacrificed or he's executed on screen. And it's really depressing. It's really disturbing, but it takes a lot of effort for Chris Evans to push himself forward with Octavia Spencer's character, with a couple other characters like the Kang-ho and his daughter. And they find themselves in the kind of rich section, the basically where all the rich people live and eat. We see them getting tailored. We see them, drawing art. We see them eating good food. They're looking at all the tail section, like they're like below them and stuff like that. They're getting their hair perm and stuff like that. And it's just the disparity of the nature of how crazy this movie is portraying the rich versus poor. It's a sad reality, but it's a really truthful reality, and it's really, really crazy. Like I said, in the TV series, you get a lot more expansive nature of the rich versus the poor, and how truly kind of different, how kind of sad it really is. But just in the few minutes that you see how rich and how powerful the first class is, and what they get to do, and like I said, there's like a club in here, there's a sauna. It's brutal. It really is. Bong Joon-ho is going to a different level of brutality that just is second to none in this movie. So, but that leads into one of my favorite action sequences. I love the classroom stuff. I think that's a great kind of whole crap moment. But one of the main bad guys who actually somehow makes it through the entire movie, after he even gets stabbed in the side, he basically sees the Snowpiercer train turning or kind of doing an embankment around a corner because they're going to switch around. And it leads him to point his gun outside the window at Chris Evans' Curtis's character as they're moving up the train. So he's at one side of the train, Curtis is and the other crew are at the other side of the train, and he starts shooting outside the window to the other side of the train. So basically he's got like a good clear view, good point of view of Curtis and stuff like that. And then Curtis is doing the same thing. He's shooting back at this bad guy. And it's just like a really, really fun sequence. It's a really unique sequence. It's a kind of just a very cool, awe-inspiring sequence of just a creative way to make a shootout happen on a very like enclosed, like dank space of a space of an area, enclosure. And this is where basically Kang-ho's character finds out. He sees every time they make a rotation or revolution, he looks down at this airplane, and first he sees the airplane as just a wing, a tail wing or whatever. And in the process, he looks down and he sees the planes fully exposed. And then, as they're shooting out, there's a snowflake that kind of slowly pops in, and Kang So-ho's character looks at it, and his eyes pop up, and it's very important to the very end of this movie. And then it leads, of course, into the sauna sequence where Octavia Spencer's character is killed, and a bunch of other people are killed. The guy that acts like a badass ninja is killed and stuff like that. That's part of the tail section. But it leads into the nightclub sequence where Kang So-ho's character basically steals all the clone or whatever it is, which is the narcotic drug in this movie. And it leads him finally to the engine, to Wilford's door. And this is where all the big revelations happen. As you've seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about. Basically what happens is Kang So-ho basically explains to Curtis that the Earth is officially starting to warm up. The ice is truly starting to melt. And he wants to blow the door so they can escape and live life on the Earth. And the reason he says that because of the plane, because of the snowflake. And therefore he thinks that's the right thing to do. Get off this, get off this ship. Let's move. Let's live life. And Curtis wants to confront Wilford for the idea of everything that's happened. And before Wilford lets him in, before the eventual conclusion to this movie, Curtis tells a story. Now, this is spoilerish, which I pretty much spoiled the movie anyways. But it is very, very disturbing. This is when I really opened my mouth and gaped when I was like, holy crap, they were desperate as fuck. Basically what happens is they resorted to cannibalism in the early years of Snowpiercer, which is what Curtis is trying to forget about. He explains what certain age of people taste like. And in the process, we learn about this woman and this baby. And we learn that these people are going to kill the woman and the baby for food. And basically, this man comes up and cuts off his arm. The woman is killed, but this man comes up and cuts off his arm to be, sacrificed to the people so he can eat it. And we find out that Curtis was the guy that killed the mother of this child, and that this child ended up becoming Edgar, which is why he treated him like a father. And the revelation is it's rough. It really is, because the resorting nature of what these people have to do, how they eventually came to the point that they're at, the kind of sacrifices that they had to make, the dark paths they had to go down. The reason that Chris Evans, Curtis's character, is even at this point is really, really sad and depressing. And there's mentions to his arm, which has deep grooves and stuff like that, which I think he was going to sacrifice his arm, but the Gilliam character saved him. It's pretty rough, so. But in essence, that leads us to the last part of this movie. Curtis meets Wilford. Wilford lives on the engine of the train. He lives in this nice lifestyle where he eats steaks and so on and so forth. And we basically learn that Wilford has anticipated this revolution, this Curtis revolution, as he calls it. And basically what it means is, with the help of Gilliam, because they were friends, they plotted out several revolutions to slim down the numbers of Snowpiercer, to basically realign the fact that, it's a whole kind of, would you kill 10 million people to save 100 so that the world can live on and be prosperous? It's very similar to the Thanos situation, where he kills half the planet so half the planet can live, which is, as maddening as that is, it makes a lot of sense if you think about it. And it's the same thing here. Gilliam and Wilford have been creating revolutions to slim down the numbers, to keep everything in check, to keep people living and so on and so forth. And in the process, because Wilford is getting old and dying, he offers Curtis the chance to take over Snowpiercer. And that's when Kang So-ho's daughter, the daughter in the movie, basically blows up puts all the cologne on the door to blow it up, because it's like a dynamite. And in the process, Curtis and Kang So-ho's character are killed, and the daughter and this young boy named Timmy, who is the Octavia Spencer's kid, survive. They blow up Snowpiercer, which gets basically run over by an avalanche of snow. Everybody dies. At least I think everybody dies. And only 2 people survive. And when they go out into the snow, which they should die because the snow is like real cold and stuff like that, they see a polar bear. But it leads down to 2 scenarios. One, Wilford knew that the Earth was like healing itself. He knew that the snow was coming, back. The snow was going to melt eventually. Or he was just very, very ignorant, and he just felt that as long as somebody was keeping the Snowpiercer alive, that the society and the population would survive, so on and so forth. So in a nutshell, that is the synopsis of this movie. I was trying not to do the whole synopsis, but this movie has so many good moments in it that it's just not hard. It's hard not to not want to talk about it, but overall, it's just it's a fantastic viewing of a movie. It's a fantastic world that Snowpiercer is basically involved with. The idea of this class system and this train, the fact that the train's so long and they have to survive the winters that are deadly to them. The fact that people are being kept down and downtrodden. Everybody. It's a really well thought out movie that has some really interesting motifs in it, and like I said about the class struggle of the world and stuff like that. And it brings up the ideas of trying to take care of our own world, trying to take care of our own planet. The idea of the ice storm and stuff like that. The idea of like just the eventual nature of the greenhouse gases and stuff like that dissipating. And it's a very scary thought. It really is. But it's so good. This movie's so good. And like I said, the only issues I have in this movie, like I said before, is just the simple fact that some of the characters in this movie aren't like most dynamic of characters. Yeah, they have interesting ideas being presented by them, but the characters that are most well written are like the Chris Evans character or the Jamie Bell character or the John Hurt character. The Tilda Swinton character is fun and engaging, but like Octavia Spencer and Ewen Bremner and some other characters like Alison, they don't really get much of a character development, and there's the reason for that is just they don't need it. But it would have been nice to give a little more information behind it. This movie could have been 2 or 3 movies. It would have been interesting to see. But like I said, for what it's trying to do, the music, which is by Marco Baccioni, is really, really good. It's really fun and entertaining. The use of the cinematography, which is Bong Joon-ho's cinematographer that he's been in for all of his movies, fantastic. The use of lighting, the use of grays and whites, the use of colors and sunlight and so on and so forth. The fact that when these tail section people see the sunlight for the first time, it's really, really beautiful to watch, and it makes it for a very beautiful movie to look at. And the animation, the visual effects for its 2013 era are really quite well done. For a movie that probably wasn't as big budgeted as like the Avengers, it does a really nice job with like the technology that it's using. The idea of this train is just, it fascinates me to no end. It's one of the reasons I love the TV series so much is just the idea of this class system on a train. The idea of how unique and kind of normal and kind of just perfect it is, because in this enclosed space you can still have rich, poor, and the middle, I guess you could say. So I definitely give credit to Bong Joon-ho. I think he's created a great film here. I think he's created a classic. I think he's created a very important film that is doing a lot of good with this material and giving us great characters and great motivations, as well as great action. So, but yeah, that's my take on Snowpiercer, which is now going to be like 8 years old. It's almost 10 years old now, which is pretty crazy. But anyways, let me know in the comments below what you thought of Snowpiercer. Did you like it? Did you not like it? What is your favorite part about the movie? Like I said, the classroom stuff is pretty crazy and pretty awesome. The revelation of what the protein bars are made out of is also pretty crazy, but all around it's just a great movie. So, but that'll do it. That'll be my take. If you like what you see, hit the subscribe button, enjoy Movie Emporium, hit that notification bell at the top to find what's coming next. If you like this video, awesome, hit that like button, and we'll see you guys on the next video. Peace out.